Ideas about governance have existed for as long as humans have organized themselves into communities, and politics has always factored importantly into ethics, including healthcare ethics. Some of the origins of this influence can be traced back to the political philosophies of Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Karl Marx. Hobbes was certainly influenced by the materialistic nature of science, and he held a materialistic view of human beings. Every action is a material event in the brain governed by desire or aversion. What was desired was good. What was to be avoided was bad. For Hobbes, ethics was subjective. A person's judgment reflected individual preferences, tastes, or perhaps values. Hobbes believed that the state of nature was a harsh, cruel existence, where survival was the key. Life would be short and unpleasant, so humans learned to thrive in communities. However, in community living, conflict can arise from competition, anticipation, or ambition. For example, if people had to travel far to find food and water, then they would be in competition for resources. Competition might cause violence, for example, whacking someone over the head with a club. The person who got hit in the head would respond by bringing a bigger club on the next foraging trip in anticipation of more violence. Ultimately, some ambitious members of the community who had the strength and ability to protect others would offer protection services to other community members. Thus, a form of governance would be born where freedom and equality are exchanged for law and order. Hobbes would have been one of the first philosophers to promote the idea of a social contract. The bottom line for Hobbes was that the rational approach was to keep whatever social contracts are agreed upon, whether in a state of nature or in a political society. However, Hobbes preferred a system of absolute authority to one of checks and balances. Like Hobbes, Locke believed that a state of nature can lead to conflict. Thus, individuals band together and form civil government. Locke believed that there was a God-given moral law that awaited discovery, even in nature. He advocated the theory that natural laws led to natural rights, which eventually caused man to develop social contracts with others. Unlike Hobbes, who allowed disobedience only when life or honor were at stake, Locke proposed rebellion when natural rights were violated. Both Hobbes and Locke felt that politics and ethics were not easily separated. In the absence of civil society, Hobbes believed ethics could not exist because its existence was entirely dependent on social organization. Locke believed that the fulfillment of the obligations of a contract were dependent on divine will, as was all moral law. Furthermore, Locke believed that moral law set limits on government, and if a government acted immorally, then they were no longer legitimate. Such a belief would give rise to the legitimacy of civil disobedience or rebellion. While Hobbes and Locke were 17th century philosophers, Karl Marx was a 19th century philosophy-trained thinker who quickly turned his attention toward economics and politics, becoming well known as a communist revolutionary. Karl Marx believed that societies rose and fell as they advanced or hindered human productivity. Marx believed that human beings were a community at their best when they depended on one another. True freedom arose for people not as individuals, but through their relationship to a community. Rights were viewed as a detriment because rights protected one person from another and tended to alienate individuals rather than strengthen communities. When people felt alienated, they turned to religion, but when the communal nature of humans was acknowledged and freedom gained, religion would fade away. Though not as complete thought, Marx is famous for his quote, "Religion is the opiate of the people." So, Hobbes and Marx shared a disinterest in the concept of rights, whereas Locke believed in rights. Today, a continuing debate exists over whether or not people have a right to healthcare, and the structures of healthcare systems often reflect how political views and governments understand the concept of rights.